The Galactic Council hall fell silent as Zixathara, her once proud carapace scarred and leaking dark green fluid, limped to the witness stand. Her missing lower left arm was replaced by a crude mechanical device. Council members shifted uneasily, observing the ravaged Kathvar warrior, who once had gleamed like polished emerald. Now, she resembled a creature from a nightmare. The assembled aliens had never seen a Kathvar in such a state. The Kathvar were galaxy-renowned, unstoppable fighters. They conquered worlds for breakfast, rebellions by lunch. "State your name and rank," Council Prime Velos, his ethereal form flickering, requested. "Zixthera, former battle captain of the 47th Assault Legion, Hegemony Military Command," she replied. Her voice clicks and whistles translated by the Council's universal system. Her pain was undeniable. "You are the sole survivor of your Legion's encounter with the human species on the world they call New Haven. Is this correct?" "Yes." Velos's chair shifted slightly. 47 alien species leaned forward, most unfamiliar with humans. Those who knew deemed humans a primitive joke. "Tell us what happened." Zixtha closed her compound eyes, then opened them, seemingly gazing into the unknown. "The humans were supposed to be easy," she began. "Command told us they were a young species, possessing barely nuclear weapons, lacking a real military, advanced technology, just farmers and miners scattered across a few dozen worlds." A few council members chuckled. "Our intelligence assessed 50,000 civilians and maybe 2,000 soldiers. We brought 12 dreadnoughts and 200 support ships. The 47th Legion, 10,000 of our finest, should have finished in a day." Zixtha's mechanical arm twitched, a pained memory flaring. "We followed standard procedure. Arrival, message of surrender. Those we'd encountered had always complied, and the human commander was named Jake Collins, an old male with grey hair and scars. We expected pleas or negotiations. Instead, his response was 3 words: "Come and take it." Confused chatter rippled through the hall. "We thought it was a translation error," Zixtha continued. "So we sent the message again, including visual records of our conquests." What was their response? Zixtha's expression was vacant, devoid of the usual Kathvar arrogance. "The humans sent us a video message. Collins, surrounded by officers and human civilians, all working collaboratively, building defenses and singing a human war song." Collins looked directly at the camera. "We know who you are. We know what you've done to other worlds, but you do not know us. You do not know what humans do when you threaten our families. You are about to learn." The hall fell silent. One human female appeared beside Collins. Lisa Park, a scientist or doctor, smiling. "It was terrifying," Zixth confessed. "Human smiles are not like ours. When we show pleasure, it's simple emotion. When humans smile in the face of certain death, it means something else entirely. Acceptance and resolve to make the cost tremendous." The earlier amusement vanished from Rixtel's tentacles. Dr. Park said only one sentence: "We will make you remember us." Then the channel went dark. Velos processed the information. "So, you began your assault." "We gave them 24 hours to reconsider, during which our sensors detected massive activity. We assumed evacuation, not preparation." They were not evacuating. They were preparing to fight. Not just soldiers, everyone, human children, the elderly, were working together. We had never seen anything like it. Zixth paused. "When the deadline passed, we sent a final message." Collins appeared again, not alone. The entire human population was behind him, 50,000 strong, gathered in the colony's main square, to surrender, say goodbye, and promise something. Their commander, for all of them, said, "You can kill us all. You probably will. But we will hurt you so badly. We are not just fighting for New Haven. We are fighting for every human who will come after us. Remember our names. Remember what we cost you. Zixth shifted slightly. That's when I knew we'd made a mistake. The council waited. Collins spoke for all of them. He said, "You can kill us all. You probably will. But we will hurt you so badly that you will think twice before you ever threaten another human world. We are not just fighting for New Haven. We are fighting for every human who will come after us. Remember our names. Remember what we cost you." The council waited. Collins spoke for all of them. He said, "You can kill us all. You probably will. But we will hurt you so badly that you will think twice before you ever threaten another human world. We are not just fighting for New Haven. We are fighting for every human who will come after us. Remember our names. Remember what we cost you." Their entire population singing that war song while our fleet prepared to destroy them. She leaned forward. The orbital bombardment was supposed to begin at dawn on the third day. Standard procedure called for destroying military targets first, then giving civilians a final chance. The Council Prime adjusted slightly. But you did not begin with orbital strikes. Command decided to make an example of New Haven, to show other human worlds what happened when species defied the hegemony. So, instead of bombardment, we would land ground forces and take the planet intact. Zixth's gaze fixed on something unseen. I was part of the first wave. 5,000 warriors in assault pods, landing on the settlement. Our intelligence indicated basic defensive walls. What we found was impossible. She stood slowly. It was impossible how. The entire colony had been transformed into a fortress. Every building, every street, a killing ground, in 3 days. But that wasn't impossible. The impossible part was how they'd done it. 48,000 civilians and 2,000 soldiers had completely redesigned their city in 72 hours. Structures for months' worth of work. Our best military engineers would have been challenged by these defensive positions. Rickstall shifted. Perhaps their technology was more advanced. No, basic human tools, simple explosives, primitive weapons. But they used them in ways we'd never seen. She pointed towards the screen. "Show them the recordings from my helmet camera." The screen flickered. A shaky, battle-damaged view from Zixthar's helmet. In the recording, Kathvar assault troops advanced through a peaceful colony street, now a death trap. 3 days before, a market area. They had transformed it into a tunnel of death. Buildings had been modified with gun ports and reinforced walls. This was Main Street. They'd turned it into a killing ground. The recording showed Kathvar warriors moving cautiously forward. Suddenly, explosions erupted, the camera shaking violently. 47 of my warriors dying in the first 30 seconds. The camera stabilized, revealing human defenders emerging from concealment. Their movements, coordinated and precise, suggested extensive training. But their equipment was clearly makeshift. The most disturbing aspect was their expressions. The recording zoomed in on a human male, no older than 20, bleeding from multiple wounds. He wielded a weapon assembled from scavenged parts, yet wore a smile. "We have engaged dozens of alien species across the galaxy," Zixthar continued. "When confronted by overwhelming force, other species demonstrate fear, anger, or despair. The humans, however, displayed joy. They reveled in the fight." The footage continued, showcasing additional defenders. An elderly female, moving with difficulty, expertly handled explosives. A young male, missing his left eye, operated a heavy weapon with lethal accuracy. Each exhibited that same unsettling smile. "We requested reinforcements," Zixthar stated. Command dispatched another 3,000 warriors. They perished just as swiftly. The screen changed, now displaying the interior of a repurposed shopping center. The humans had transformed it into a multi-leveled fortress, a network of interconnected firing positions and hidden passages. This was where I encountered Dr. Lisa Park for the second time. The recording revealed a human female in a blood-stained lab coat. She knelt beside wounded defenders, tending to their injuries while explosions rocked the building. She is a physician, Zixther explained. A doctor should have sought refuge or escape. Instead, she engaged in the heart of the conflict, saving her people's lives, enabling them to continue the fight against us. The camera drew closer to Dr. Park. Her gaze met the Kathvar warriors as he approached. Her expression held no fear, only that same unsettling smile. She addressed me, Zixther said. Despite her awareness of his mission to end her life, she spoke to me in fluent Kathvar. Council members leaned forward. Very few species deigned to learn our language. What did she say? Zixther's voice softened. Your people have made a grave error in venturing here. We have studied you, learned your language, your tactics, your vulnerabilities. You know nothing of us. Consequently, you will fail. The recording showed Dr. Park returning to her patients, treating them as if the armed Kathvar warrior posed no threat. She continued her medical aid, even as the battle raged. Then, she performed an unthinkable act. The screen revealed Dr. Park extracting a small device from her coat, a seemingly innocuous medical instrument. She detonated a localized electromagnetic pulse, disabling the warrior's weapons and armor. But rather than execute him in his defenseless state, she resumed treating her wounded. Turning directly toward the council, Zixther declared, "She made us vulnerable, then dismissed us as inconsequential, her healing of her people more vital than combating us." The recording concluded, plunging the chamber into darkness. That act of defiance illuminated the nature of the conflict. Zixther stated, "This wasn't simply a battle between armies. It was a whole population resolved to resist, united to oppose us relentlessly. From the youngest child to oldest adult, every human on this world serves as integral to their military council." Zixther processed this information slowly. "How many casualties did you sustain in the initial 24 hours? 8,000 warriors dead or injured, nearly the complete landing force, along with the humans." Zixther's mechanical arm whirred again. "Less than 200. However, every human killed exacted a high cost, claiming multiple Kathvar lives each, and the survivors kept fighting onward with their usual smile." As Zixther continued, her voice softened. Silence filled the council chamber, broken only by the subtle hum of translation systems and the rhythmic whirring of her prosthesis. On the second day, Command dispatched the entire reserve force, 15,000 fresh Kathvar warriors, reinforced with armor and aerial support. We had never required such a significant force to subdue a single human settlement. She paused, her damaged carapace reflecting the chamber's lights and fractured patterns. The humans had used the night to bolster their defenses. Unexpected obstacles, novel weapons, and new strategic positions appeared. It was as if the entire colony itself was coalescing into a constant threat. Council Prime Velos leaned forward. Were they receiving outside assistance number, our sensors would have detected any ships or resupply drops. The same 50,000 humans, utilizing the same rudimentary resources, were achieving the impossible. Zixther reactivated the viewing screen. New footage emerged, more chaotic and violent than before. This recording details the second assault on Sector 7. Watch closely. The screen displayed Kathvar troops advancing through a residential area. The houses appeared ordinary, but as soldiers traversed them, the structures sprang to life. "The humans have weaponized their homes," Zixther explained. Walls exploding outward, floors collapsing into spike pits, ceilings releasing explosive nets. They had transformed their neighborhood into a lethal trap. The recording showed a Kathvar warrior approaching a seemingly abandoned house. As he neared the door, The structure imploded, consuming 3 more warriors. From the debris, a human emerged, wounded but fighting. Ryan Scott, a human male, approximately 30 years old, a pre-war maintenance worker, and no trained soldier. The screen focused on Scott engaging multiple Kathvar warriors, using only a metal pipe and some sort of chemical spray, fighting with a ferocity that astonished the aliens. He held that intersection for 6 hours, Zixthara observed. We fired 17 shots, but he wouldn't fall. Whenever we believed him dead, he would rise and continue. The footage depicted Scott receiving countless blows, bleeding profusely, yet sustaining the attack. His face was a mask of pain and determination. When we finally overwhelmed him, he was barely alive. Any rational species would have surrendered or succumbed. Instead, he armed 4 grenades and attempted to draw my squad into the explosion. A flash of white filled the screen as the explosives detonated. He couldn't eliminate us, but his actions delayed our advance, thereby allowing reinforcements to reach the site. This single intersection cost us 200 warriors and 3 valuable hours. Zixthara switched the recording to a different scene. This is Amy White, an engineer by trade, specializing in water treatment, a civilian with no military training. The screen displayed a human female, working intently within an apartment building, connecting cables and devices amidst explosions. She had equipped her building as a self-destruct device, not a simple bomb, but something far more intricate. She calculated the precise charge required to bring down her building and 2 adjacent structures. The recording showed Kathvar troops entering, carefully advancing through the apartment lobby. She waited until 300 of our warriors occupied the building, and then triggered the device. The screen showed a controlled demolition, the building collapsing inward, crushing the Kathvar forces, while leaving surrounding buildings intact. However, she did not evacuate the building. Zixthara continued. She remained inside to ensure precise timing. In her final communicator transmission, she could be heard laughing as the building came down. The council members shifted uneasily. The concept of laughter during an impending explosion was unnerving. The most extreme example was Sergeant Dan Murphy. A new recording appeared. It detailed a human male, older than the others with grey hair and numerous scars, in military uniform. A seasoned soldier, but exceeding the limitations of conventional fighting methods. The footage depicted Murphy defending a medical station attended by wounded humans, surrounded by at least 20 Kathvar warriors, vastly outnumbered. Focus on his left arm, Zixthara instructed. The recording displayed Murphy receiving a direct hit from a Kathvar plasma weapon. His left arm was severed at the shoulder, flying through the air in a blood spray. A normal being would have collapsed. Instead, Murphy grabbed his severed arm, using it as a club, and continued to fight. The screen showed the unbelievable sight of a human wielding their own severed limb, fighting with alien soldiers while copious blood flowed from their wounds. He fought for another 20 minutes in this condition. When he eventually succumbed, he had eliminated 8 Kathvar warriors and injured 12 more. Even in his dying moments, he attempted to engage us. Zixthara switched off the screen and addressed the council directly. These weren't isolated incidents. This was the human way of war. They lacked comprehension of defeat. Faced with no escape, they didn't surrender. They were more hazardous. Pacing, Zixthara's mechanical arm clicked with each step. We'd tried everything. Tear gas was ineffective. They devised countermeasures. Sonic weapons proved useless. They fought, both deafened and disorientated. Even psychological warfare, projecting the sounds of dying humans, failed to diminish their resolve. Their response. They broadcast back, but not with sounds of fear or sadness. Recordings of human children singing a wartime anthem, echoing with glee amidst the destruction of their city, were sent to us. While their homes burned and loved ones perished, they voiced triumph and demise with equal fervor. Thera ceased her pacing and fixed Velos with her gaze. By the second day, our losses totaled 12,000. The humans, perhaps numbering 1,000 casualties, fought with renewed ferocity. Their losses hardened their resolve rather than diminishing it. The chamber fell silent, allowing the implications of this resilience to sink in. The third morning, Command authorized orbital bombardment. We were to extinguish the colony from above, avoiding further ground troop attrition. However, an unforeseen event intervened. Sixth's mechanical arm began to spark erratically. Dr. Lisa Park, the same human physician who had treated the wounded in the shopping district, prevented the malfunction. Through the 2 days of conflict, she had been accomplishing something extraordinary. She'd repurposed the colony's fusion reactors into a weapon capable of reaching our orbiting vessels. The council members whispered in shock. Several species had never conceived of such a conversion. She transformed civilian power plants into an orbital defense and a deadly trap. Zyx Thetha's prosthetic arm vibrated more violently as she approached the most sensitive portion of her testimony. Her eyes, clouded with pain, seemed to fixate on memories that haunted her dreams. The orbital strike, she continued, was scheduled for dawn on the 4th day. Admiral Crichtel positioned 12 dreadnoughts for the final assault. The colony's shields were failing. Victory seemed certain. She paused, her breathing ragged. Dr. Park held a different plan. The viewing screen flickered to life, displaying the fleet from the flagship's bridge perspective. 12 Kathvar dreadnoughts, imposing stars of darkness, readied for the final attack. Precisely at dawn, our sensors registered immense energy surges from the planet's surface. We assumed the humans were launching a last-ditch defense using their remaining shield generators. The bridge crew appeared calm and resolute. Admiral Crichtel, full of confidence, stood in the center, poised to authorize the attack. Then, New Haven's surface erupted in radiance, as if a new sun had risen. Dr. Park had connected all 6 fusion reactors in a series arrangement, turning the planetary power grid into a monolithic directed energy weapon. Council members leaned forward, grasping the implications. This should have destroyed the planet, Councillor Rixtel remarked, but human engineers differ from our approach. Dr. Park had calculated the precise power needed to disable our vessels without obliterating the planet, transforming nuclear fusion into pinpoint accuracy. The recording displayed beams of pure energy erupting from the planet's surface, striking 6 dreadnoughts simultaneously. The massive vessels went dark, their power systems overloaded and weapons crippled. 6 dreadnoughts disabled in 30 seconds, Sixth stated calmly. But that's not the worst aspect. What was the worst part? Dr. Park's transmission immediately followed the attack. The screen showed her standing in the remnants of her laboratory, surrounded by smoke and sparking equipment. Unwavering, she declared, "Good morning, Admiral. I trust you enjoyed that demonstration. I have sufficient power for 5 more shots, and your remaining ships are perfectly poised for target engagement. Would you surrender, or should we continue?" The chamber fell silent. The notion of 50,000 humans issuing a demand to surrender to a hegemony fleet was beyond comprehension. Admiral Crichtel, stunned, considered such a proposition. Sixth continued, but long-range sensors signaled new contacts approaching the system. The tactical display flickered to show a single craft, diminutive compared to the Kathvar armada, approaching. We surmised it was a supply ship seeking to evacuate the colony. Zex the Thera's mechanical arms sputtered more intensely. It was the UES Liberty, a heavy cruiser commanded by Captain Beth Morgan, with a complement of 800 humans. The screen displayed the approaching ship, sleek, functionally built for war, yet hopelessly outnumbered. Over communications, Captain Morgan delivered a message that still haunts my nightmares. The screen showed a human female officer in sharp military uniform, with short grey hair and scars telling of numerous battles. Yet her eyes held unwavering resolve. "This is Captain Beth Morgan of the United Earth ship Liberty. You have attacked a human colony and killed human civilians. Your only option is to withdraw or prepare for obliteration," she warned. Nervous chatter filled the council chamber. The audacity of such a threat against an entire squadron was incomprehensible. Fellows mused. One ship daring to challenge the entire fleet. What happened next? Admiral Kickstall ordered all remaining ships to eradicate the Liberty. 200 vessels converged on one target. Seconds should have been enough. The recording depicted the Kathvar armada turning on the fragile human ship, their weapons energizing, their missiles launching. But Captain Morgan did not aim for a conventional engagement. The Liberty accelerated directly toward the fleet, not away, as our weaponry locked onto it. The human ship executed maneuvers that defied belief, deploying disabled dreadnoughts as cover, utilizing their hulls to deflect our missiles. The recording transitioned into a chaotic onslaught as the Liberty engaged multiple targets simultaneously. The ship's weapons, though less potent than Kathvar's, proved incredibly precise. "Watch this," Sixth said, indicating the screen. The Liberty engaged a disabled dreadnought, firing directly at its reactor core. The ensuing explosion destroyed 2 support vessels and damaged 3 more. She employed our own vessels as weapons against ourselves. The battle raged, with the Liberty weaving through our armada. Each attack was masterfully calculated to maximize damage with minimal risk. "How is this possible?" Vathos questioned. "One craft against so many." Captain Morgan had studied our tactics for decades. Decades! She knew our fleet's operations, our commander's thought processes. She had transformed our strength into our weakness. The recording illustrated the Liberty ramming a damaged cruiser into a functioning dreadnought, obliterating both while remarkably escaping substantial damage. The true terror, however, lay not in her tactics, but in her crew. Internal views of the Liberty during battle revealed human personnel working diligently amidst explosions and structural collapses. Several stations blazed, yet personnel persevered. When the Liberty's engineer, Tom Brady, was confronted with a breached engine room filled with toxic gas, he donned a mask and continued operation. When the main power conduit exploded, severing his leg, he crawled to the emergency controls and restored power while bleeding to death. A weapons officer, Kate Miller, sustained severe burns after her station exploded, but extinguishing the flames, she continued firing. The screen showed Miller at her position, disfigured, yet calmly selecting targets while medics attended to her injuries. Captain Morgan herself endured 3 injuries during the battle: shrapnel wounds, a broken arm from a console explosion, and a head injury that rendered her partially blind. She commanded the ship for 6 more hours in grave condition. The recording presented the battle's conclusion. The Liberty, badly damaged, yet still fighting, venting atmosphere and debris. Captain Morgan's final transmission was to the planet. On the screen, she appeared on the Liberty's bridge, blood streaming down her face from her head wound, left arm useless. Nonetheless, she maintained a grim smile. "New Haven," she declared. "The sky is clear. Tell Earth we were here. Tell them we held the line." The recording ended with the Liberty exploding, along with the last operational Kathvar dreadnought, as its reactor overloaded. Sixth turned to the council, her mechanical arm sputtering again. "That was when I lost my arm in my legion, when a human ship's captain chose death to retreat." An oppressive silence descended upon the chamber for a decisive moment. New Haven endured. 50,000 humans had vanquished the entire 47th Assault Legion and a significant portion of our fleet. Dr. Park's weapon had disabled our dreadnoughts, and Captain Morgan had decimated the rest. Zigzartha met each council member's gaze. This was not the culmination of terror. This was when I knew the true nature of our conflict. Zixthera remained silent, her mechanical arm finally still. The sparks had ceased, but her damaged carapace still mirrored the chamber's lights like shattered glass. Her next words carried a palpable fear, unsettling even the bravest council members. After the battle, I was adrift in the wreckage of my command ship. Severely wounded, bordering on death, the humans could have left me to perish in the void. Instead, they saved me. Council Prime Voss leaned forward. They took you prisoner. No, she replied. They brought me to their medical facility and restored my life. The viewing screen flickered one last time, displaying a human hospital. Clean and bright, this interior starkly contrasted the war-torn colony they knew. Dr. Lisa Park personally tended to my injuries. The same human who had decimated half our fleet now worked tirelessly to save me. For 3 days she performed intricate surgery, repairing my damaged organs and fitting a prosthetic arm. Zixthera raised her mechanical limb, its crude mechanism clicking softly. While recuperating, I accessed human information networks, hoping for military intelligence. Instead, I discovered the truth behind our aggression. Scrolling across the screen were human data files, military records, population statistics, industrial reports. New Haven, the target of our attack, was not a major colony. It was a frontier settlement, barely 5 years old. The 2,000 soldiers we confronted were not elite forces. They were a basic garrison, standard equipment. Council members murmured in disbelief. The civilians, farmers, miners, engineers, teachers, were just as they appeared. No special military training, no advanced weaponry, no hidden technology. Then how did they vanquish your legion? Zixthera's compound eyes focused on something beyond the chamber. Because every human is a potential warrior. Their entire species is built around a constant state of readiness. They call it total war. The notion that every member of their society is part of their military, uniform or not. The screen displayed images of human settlements across numerous worlds, peaceful and civilian-like. But Zixthera saw the concealed military infrastructure within. Every human colony held defensive plans. Every civilian knew how to utilize weaponry and explosives. Every child learned tactics and strategy as an integral part of their education. They disguised military training as innocuous games and sports. She gestured toward footage of children playing seemingly harmless games. This, she said, was recreational activity. Observe their movements. These games taught small unit tactics, weapon handling, and battlefield communication. By adulthood, humans had been unconsciously trained for war. The implications hung over the council like a chilling cloud. How many worlds do the humans control? Belos inquired softly. Over 200 confirmed settlements. But that isn't the disturbing part. What is? The frightening part is that they have been preparing for galactic contact for 300 years. The screen showed historical human documents, military plans, technological records, and strategic analyses. They detected our exploration probes decades ago. They had studied us, learned our languages, and analyzed our strategies. While we dismissed them as primitive, they had been cultivating a civilization specifically designed to combat us. A new file showed human population statistics. New Haven had 50,000 inhabitants. The total human population across all worlds exceeds 40 billion. If 50,000 farmers and miners could decimate the 47th Assault Legion, what could 40 billion prepared humans do to our entire military force? A suffocating silence descended upon the chamber. But the numbers aren't the worst part, Zixthera continued. The worst part is their psychology. Humans do not fight for territory or resources. They fight to protect their way of life. Every battle is an existential struggle for them. Every conflict, total war. She looked the council in the eye. We have subjugated 47 species throughout the galaxy. All surrendered when faced with overwhelming force. All accepted defeat when victory was impossible. Humans do not grasp these concepts. The screen showed Captain Morgan's final message from the dying Liberty. Tell them we were here. Tell them we stood our ground. She was not seeking victory in a lost cause. She was sending a message to other humans that this is how they should fight. Die before retreating. Fight until the last breath. Force the enemy to pay for every inch. Zixthera began pacing, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. I spent 6 months recovering on New Haven, observing human life. They are not a warrior race like the Kathvar. They favor peace and cooperation. But when threatened, they become something else. What do you mean? I saw a human, Sarah, teaching children to read and write. Gentle, patient, wholeheartedly dedicated to education. But when a wild animal threatened one of her students, she killed it without hesitation, her bare hands. The security footage showed her quick transformation from educator to killer and back to teacher, as if nothing had happened. Every human holds this capacity. They can switch from peaceful civilian to deadly warrior in an instant, returning to their normal behaviors just as quickly. They are the most perilous species I've encountered, hiding their true nature until absolutely necessary. Zixthera stopped pacing and addressed Velos directly. More human vessels arrived at New Haven while I recovered. Not military ships, but civilian transports carrying supplies and volunteers for reconstruction. But I recognized the design patterns. Those civilian vessels had the same hull modifications as the Liberty, the same weapon mounts, the same armor plating, the same tactical systems. Every human merchant ship was a warship in disguise. The implications were staggering. If human civilian ships were in fact military vessels, their true fleet strength was incalculable. The humans have staged centuries of deception. They appear weak and divided, with multiple governments and competing interests. Yet beneath that facade is a united race preparing for galactic war. She activated a final image, a human diplomatic document. While in New Haven, this message arrived from Earth, directed to the Galactic Council, requesting formal diplomatic contact. The document appeared polite and peaceful, but I had learned to decipher human subtext. It wasn't a plea for peaceful contact. It was a warning that humanity was ready to claim its place among the stars and expected to be treated as equals. Zixthera faced the assembled aliens once more. I am the sole survivor of the 47th Assault Legion only because the humans allowed it. They wanted me to deliver this message. Humanity cannot be conquered because they do not fear death. They cannot be negotiated with from a position of strength, for they acknowledge no authority greater than their survival. She raised her mechanical arm, the prosthetic gleaming. They gave me this limb as a gift, not out of kindness, but as a constant reminder of what happens when you threaten humans. The chamber was silent as the weight of her testimony settled. What do you recommend? Belos asked. Send diplomats, not soldiers. Offer alliance, not conquest. For if we make enemies of humanity, we will all burn together. They prepared for this war for 3 centuries, and they await it. Zixthera began walking toward the chamber's exit, her mechanical arm clicking with each step. The 47th Assault Legion learned too late that humans do not merely fight to win. They fight to ensure that any who threaten them are forever reminded of the price. As she reached the door, she paused, looking back. They're coming to this chamber tomorrow. A diplomatic mission led by Ambassador John Hayes. They know about this testimony. They know about this council. They always have. The door closed, leaving the council in stunned silence. In the viewing gallery above, a figure in human attire watched with quiet satisfaction. Ambassador John Hayes had been present the entire time, listening intently. As he prepared to leave, he spoke softly into a communication device. "Mission Control, this is Hayes. The message has been delivered." They grasped the situation. The response was immediate. "Acknowledged, Ambassador. Welcome to the galactic community." Hayes smiled, that same chilling human smile that had haunted Zixthera's dreams, and walked away toward the corridors of power, ready to negotiate humanity's place among the stars, from a position of strength earned through the blood and sacrifice on a small frontier world called New Haven.